Good afternoon and welcome to my next installment of DJ Legends, Aussie DJ Legends, that is. And my very special guest today is one of my favourite DJs. And I'm starting off the year series with people that I've actually aspired to in the very, very early beginnings of my career and who I'd seen regularly and heard of regularly. And this is a very good friend of mine, Jason Pryor from Melbourne. Welcome to the program, honey.
Hello, Josh. Greetings from sunny downtown Melbourne,
How's
which
the
is a
weather
complete
there?
lie.
Yeah, how's the weather there, honey?
No, look, it's 21 and partly sunny, apparently, but yeah, no, it's cold.
At least we're not having any
Good.
tsunamis, hey? Now let's talk about your humble beginnings. I've asked all of my DJs. What actually got you into music? Were you into music before you started going out clubbing, or was it something that you discovered?
No, not really. No, look, to me, a night out at the club was hearing all the commercial stuff and sort of going home as a happy boy sort of thing. It was never about being educated in relation to music.
Yeah,
So, if you got to go out and hear a bit of Kylie on the dance floor, then your night was happy. Then I discovered a club called Bassline,
yeah,
which was at the back of the Palace complex in St Kilda,
yeah.
and a friend had taken me there, and that was the epitome of what an underground club was at the time, when gays mixed with straights, and it was just one big sort of happy club, and yeah, so that's where I really got a passion for it, because that was in the early days of the happy pills and things like that. So
Yeah,
people were out sort of having partying in a different way. It wasn't about alcohol. It was
yeah.
about sort of having fun and popping a pill at the beginning of the night.
Mm.
And my understanding and love for music, just like everything commercial, just went right out the window, and I just had a sudden appreciation of all these tracks that I never even knew existed.
Yeah.
And I used to go ask the DJ what it was,
Mm.
and then I'd go to the record shop the next day and just buy that one record. Wasn't interested in listening to anything else.
Yeah.
And then over the weeks, the record collection started getting more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it started there with the love of underground dance music, because at that point it was,
Yeah.
it was pretty rare. So it was around '92 that I started that appreciation of music,
Yeah.
and very few dance tracks were in the charts. So yeah, that was probably where I got bitten by the bug.
Can I ask too, because we were very commercial in the clubs that we were playing in Adelaide. The Mars Bar was always very, very commercial. There was never really an underground scene. I had to go to straight clubs to find that. Was that the same in Melbourne? Because I do believe the market had been going for quite some time, and most of the gay clubs there in around that time were very, very commercial.
Yeah, well,
Mm.
no, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I find that, you obviously discovered somewhere that was more underground, more drug orientated, and more. What were they playing, sort of trance back then, or was it very high Euro? Was it that crossover?
Can I tell you what I'll tell you what's a really, really good indication of the type of music they're playing is the initial Renaissance CD.
Yeah,
That type of music. So a lot of the tracks, and one of my pride and joy of that Digweed and Sasha initial Renaissance CD is I had like 16 tracks off of that,
mm,
which was even when it came out a couple of years later, what was considered the rarest tracks on the planet kind of thing.
mm,
And I had 16 of those tracks based on my first 2 years in the club, and the type of music that club was playing.
mm.
So there was places like Three Faces and that were had to appeal to that, you
Broader
know
market.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so whereas Baseline didn't do that,
Mm.
Brendan Cooney, who ran Baseline, was just, I don't know, he's just a master of just knowing what the crowd wanted in a niche kind of way.
Yeah.
And Tony Speller and
It's
um,
hard
and,
remembering. It's not.
and Stephen Hales were
Yeah.
just pioneers, absolute pioneers of the time. They were getting stuff, basically direct from London that would come into Central Station, and they'd be on it first. And so, very, very lucky to have those two, as to be the people that I kind of looked up to at the time.
Yeah. Because I did speak to DJ Jules, and she was around about that time as well. And also DJ Lexi. We talked about the crossover with Melbourne and Sydney and Adelaide. Melbourne, as I think it was Jules said, or was it Lexi said? It was Lexi. She said Melbourne gets music. They got
Yeah,
music a whole
yeah,
lot better than Sydney did.
yeah,
Sydney was very staunch in what it was playing. They were playing a lot of house music, still
yeah,
big diva vocals. But Melbourne had that really nice crossover and a population of gay community that could cross over to the straight community,
yeah.
and that's where the progression was born. And I also spoke to Jules about the guys from Central Station, and also, you know, some of the shops with the progressive boys. Progressive was really big in Melbourne,
Mm.
wasn't it?
Totally, totally.
Yep.
And look, the good thing about, I mean, because back in the day too, it was really only Central Station.
Mm.
So I mean, all you needed to do was really go in there and just get in the groove, so to speak, with one of the guys. I mean, basically any of the guys and gals that work there,
Mm.
like Maury and Miss Crystal and that kind of thing. Once they knew what your style was, you could literally walk in there and they would have stuff ready.
Yeah.
And Yeah, look, it was, to literally only have one record shop to choose from and still have that amazing eclectic mix of what really still is going to be a couple of years away in relation to the rest of the scene, which is a real blessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you talk about Bassline, that was every Saturday, so that was more like very progressive, tribal kind of style.
Yeah,
Let's talk about the progression into actually learning how to mix. How did that happen for you? Because I know that you've mentioned a couple of great names in your brief bio, and let me tell you, I got a bit excited when I saw the name CJ Dolan from Quench, Sean Quinn, Jason Digby, and Megan. Oh
yeah,
wow!
yeah.
Did
No,
you get in sweet with those, and how did that happen?
look, I did. Look, they were already friends before I really decided to start wanting to DJ. So
Mm.
what it was like I said, I never wanted to be a DJ. I never imagined myself on the other side of the party fence. I just wanted to party.
Mm.
So never ever considered DJing. And then it took probably about a year into collecting records. I'd start to hire decks just for kick-ons back at my place. It was awful, absolutely awful. I had no idea. And can I tell you, my husband Eric, I mean, my boyfriend at the time, but my husband now, he picked it up before I did, and so
Did
he
he?
wanted to give me lessons. I'm like, I'm not going to. It's not even your passion. That he worked it out, but it's like it's not your thing. I want to learn. So literally, I'm sitting there with absolutely no idea what to do. And because I was friends with people like CJ from Quench and Sean Quinn, Megan was big at the time in the clubs that I was going to, and Jason Digby. They'd be over for various kick-ons and things like that. But CJ was the very first that was back at my place, probably thinking, what the fuck's he doing? And he literally showed me some things to do.
It's not the Melbourne Cup. Brum, brum, brum.
Yeah. Oh God. But he was great. And so Sean gave me a couple. Jason Digby sort of did it more so as a proper sort of not like a kick on, more as he would come over on Thursday night or whatever and allocate a couple of hours and that kind of thing. So it was lessons from each. So it wasn't like, it was, I didn't sort of commit them to a whole career, but, and then it was just learning the basics and then just,
Practice.
just practice. Yeah.
And let's talk about the scene in Melbourne as a whole, because back in 92 and probably right up until the 2000s, it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning. Like it was big. I could
Yeah.
easily I'd say this is for all of us would play half of our week would be clubbing.
Yeah, that's right. Look, it's really interesting because once again, we don't want to hype too much on just 92, but coming out in 92, especially sort of getting into the sort of the party druggy scene, but the things that would sort of, motivate you to want to go out, plus the good music. But, there was always a Thursday night, a Friday night, a Saturday night. Recovery didn't really start to kick off until, I mean, for me, probably sort of beginning around 93.
Yeah.
And and then once the Sunday morning thing started, then it was a year later, then there was Monday morning recoveries, then Sunday night was just as big. And I think the was too, everyone seemed to go to the same type of venues too. It was, that's why we've got lifelong friendships, because you literally saw those people for half a week off your chops in a club somewhere. But yeah, look, Friday, Saturday was our big nights.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, Melbourne's constantly amazed me in just how progressive we were.
Yeah.
I mean, in relation to being obviously in Australia as well, but even worldwide,
Yeah.
you get the DJs that will come across from the UK and that, and just say the clubbing here is world class.
Mm.
So
I think
proud to be part of it.
we had that conversation as well with Jules and Lexi. I think a lot of the problem we did have is a lot of us were that good, but a lot of us never really got the opportunity to play in Europe or UK or anything
Yeah.
like that. And yes, we're up there, and some of you guys were some of the best. Now, your first recovery part, it says here, Cosmic Baby, because the DJ didn't show up. That's an awesome gig, isn't it?
Can I tell you that was the worst gig? I think because once again it had been a big night, so it was probably about 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So I was still going, and I still ended up playing about an hour and a half. I got one mix in. The rest was Melbourne Cup. It was like this, and the reason I remember that because the lighting guy commented specifically not so much on the ones that I got wrong, but the one I got right, he turned around and goes, "Man, that was an awesome mix." So the fact that he kept quiet for the rest of the set, it was awful. It was absolutely. And look, fortunately, the crowd wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
You could have put on anything. I think they would have danced to it. But look, that gave me my the taste of working, playing to a crowd, and look, it's just you're so what it's like. You got bitten by the bug, and any money you got went to records. Like I was, basically every week's pay I would spend, if not all of it, on vinyl.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
That's where the passion was.
And I don't know, did you ever play Monkey? Because I remember the first time I ever went to Monkey down at Luna Park down there.
That's where Bassline was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was Monkey. And I remember Gavin Campbell, and bless his soul, he's a brilliant DJ. But I think one night I was there, and I think Neil Crawford did this in Sydney as well. He was so out of it. The record stopped, that he's standing there and he forgot where he was. And that happened quite regularly at some of the big events, and everyone would just roar. They'd rip roar and they realised.
Easy to do. Like, I mean, I've had similar situations, not so much sort of being out of it, but where someone is talking to you. So if you've got your back to the decks, and all of a sudden like, oh shit. Spin around. But I did a few months. I think when Chris Knight first started it, he wanted to be fairly eclectic with the music, and so I was on rotation. But then it got with the likes of like Darwin, who was very tribal in his sound, and Peter Mack was going in that direction as well. And that's when I think Monkey hit its niche, because I think Chris then kept those types of DJs on. So the kind of the more funky stuff wasn't really required anymore. But in the early days of Monkey used to be really fun. It was always fun, but I mean, that was until they changed their style.
Let's talk about the progression that I saw in you. Like I obviously came over and did a few recoveries with you and Jules, and I brought you over to Sleazeballs in Adelaide, which we really enjoyed having you over. You got quite a little bit trancey as well, and we were doing recoveries. Viper Room, we're doing Dome, we're doing Liquid, Magnitude. How did you progress into the trance stuff?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's look, the thing was, it's almost like creative. When I had creative license to be able to play that kind of music, I think, and as you be aware, that it was very difficult for a gay DJ to get into the straight scene. Not that a gay DJ wanted to be into the straight scene, so to speak, but especially in Melbourne, as the clubs were becoming more mixed, those clubs were becoming the places to be at.
Oh yeah.
So to get so a lot of the straight DJs were automatically given the gigs. So it was really hard for a predominantly a gay DJ working in gay clubs to get into these mixed clubs. And so you really are kind of waiting for that that promoter to kind of have faith in you. So Jake Kajakis, God rest his soul, who was the promoter of Dome, he put me on at Virgin Mary's for Sunday, which was a Dome recovery.
Great club.
Yeah, and look, it was just and everyone can remember Sundays at Virgin Mary's. but he put me on, and all of a sudden, this whole street scene's discovered, these gay DJ Jason Pryor,
Mm.
and that club was meant to go from, I think it was from 7 till 2,
Mhm.
and Billy Finlay would do 7 to 10:30, and then, oh no, sorry, 7 to 11, and I'd do 11 till 2. Sometimes I wouldn't get out of bed till 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't let me finish.
Yeah.
So once I knew I had that creative license to really play whatever I wanted and what my heart desired, and completely move away from what the gay crowd expected,
Mm.
it was just the
Yeah.
mothership coffee home.
I'm
Yeah,
home.
yeah,
And let's face it, there was so, like I said, because the scene was so vibrant and so many clubs went for hours and hours on end, there was enough room for people to get gigs.
yeah,
And, the 5 hour gigs and the 6 hour gigs,
yeah,
where you could really, take people on a journey.
yeah,
And the Dome was also one of those places. I had played there a few times, and I see Molly Meldrum on the dance
yeah,
floor. You'd see all these muscle boys,
yeah,
ethnic boys. You'd see drag queens. You'd see
yeah,
like it was just such a great time in
yeah,
our industry, wasn't it?
yeah. Oh, look, the Dome to me was the pinnacle at the time.
Mm.
It was the club that always had a queue around the corner. It was always very Studio 54 in the way that, who would be lucky enough to get in.
Mhm.
And having said that, it did go downhill a lot, especially with a lot of muscle boys started to be, just high on testosterone or roids, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, and it kind of lost its direction. But in its heyday, it just the most eclectic bunch of people just having the most wonderful time.
Mm.
Once again, another club that sort of was meant to close at 7, and then would sometimes go, 8, 9, 10, and then that's just.
That's unheard of these days, isn't it? Absolutely.
I'm just going to drift off for a second and think about those wonderful memories. Now I'm back. Yeah,
It's good.
wonderful.
It's good like reminiscing about this sort of stuff because it does bring back great memories. Virgin Mary's. Now, I remember when it first started, there was a
Yeah,
big hullabaloo about the name, and I
yeah,
think that created such a big riff in the market. Ended up being called VMs, right?
yeah,
Because people complained. It was
yeah.
crazy.
Look, look, I mean, kudos to all the Catholics and all the people that complain, because in this day of social media, it could happen in 5 minutes.
Oh
Whereas
yeah.
they managed to build this big campaign without any type of social media, and still got what they wanted.
Mm.
But look, it will always be Virgin Mary's to us. We knew it as that. We say VMs to be politically correct, and look, I think, yeah, most people will think of it as Virgin Mary's. I think, but if you
Yeah.
throw it in a conversation, people say VMs. The second that Marty and I released, and it was funny. We had VM on it, but literally little writing Virgin Mary's. So
And it really put the club on the map too, because obviously back when there was no social media, you really had to work hard at promoting these venues
yeah,
and things like that, and it was a lot of word of mouth and a lot of controversy in the magazines, which we don't
yeah,
have anymore either. Let's talk about some of the, I remember there was a party called Run, I believe, the Melbourne Cups. There was, some of those that I came over to
yeah,
see. Liquid is another
yeah.
big one where I saw you play regularly with Jules.
Oh yeah, look, run to me was, because run was the yearly party that Brendan would do based on Bassline, which was the back of the club.
Mm.
So he would have the Saturday nights at the back of the club, and then on Cup Eve he would use the whole Palace complex to do the run parties. So when Brendan put me on, I think for the first one in '96, it was like, well, this is the club that inspired me to DJ, and now I'm actually in this room playing it. It was really quite overwhelming moment to actually be on those decks that I'd watched Tony and Stephen DJ at for years, and now here I was playing in that same room. I was very, very grateful to Brendan for that. And
Yeah.
then a couple of years later, just as my career got bigger, I did the main room. It was like, I'm doing the main room of Rome. Just life get any better, So it was that was really the most probably pinch me moment that I've had.
Yeah.
And Liquid as well.
Yeah.
Liquid was the concept of having a members only club was just amazing. Look, I was the creative musical director for that, so I had a big say on who came over. So it really was just getting all my friends in, like
Yeah.
you, Alex.
Michelle.
Luke Legal, all the DJs that I love working for to
Yeah.
get me in.
All the
So
it DJs.
sorry,
All the it DJs.
yeah, totally. So look, it was yeah, look, another club that sort of stays in my mind with very very happy memories.
There was
Oh,
one. There was
Jules,
one that I came over for, and I don't know if I was DJing or not. I think I just came to see it. It was in a theatre. I remember it being red, and you guys were DJing down on a stage, and I think it was a liquid.
you were there, no, because
Yeah,
you
Jules, you.
that was after you would have done you did a couple, but you had to stand in for me one morning, which I couldn't make it. But the
Because I
one,
think I had to come on after Jules, and I was shitting my pants because I knew Jules from DCM and everything, and
yeah,
I was standing there like watching her set, going, "Oh my god, oh my god."
yeah, no, that was the Empire, which was just
Empire, that's the one.
off Chapel Street. So
Yes,
I know you did the Liquid Millennium, the one we
yes,
had on New Year's Day after the Millennium.
yes.
Because you're obviously in town. I think we did the Shed 14,
Hmm.
and then we did that, and then we flew out the next
That was
day
insanity.
to Darwin.
Oh, that was a big one, wasn't it? That
Yeah,
was you, me, and Nick Fish, wasn't it? In
I think
Darwin.
Nick Fish had up there. I think it
We,
was
yeah, we.
Thomas the Funk Engine came was
That's
with
right. That's a name. There's a name.
Nick Fish, and there was another. I just remember it was a guy that didn't stop jumping all the way through his set. He did that the entire set. So it was some.
And that was at Discovery in Darwin.
That was it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We hadn't slept for two days already.
No, it was.
We got in trouble on that flight because you mentioned the word BOMB.
I was thinking about that before. I mean, could you imagine if I had said that after 2000?
That was a great night, and we followed through from that, didn't we? We all went back again to Darwin and played another set. Did you?
No, look, that was the
I think I
first.
went back about
You did,
a month later. Yeah,
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
that was
It
great.
was a big trip, especially
It
after
was, wasn't it? I had gone from Adelaide to Melbourne and I hadn't slept for 2 or 3 days. I did a Thursday night in Adelaide at Soda Room. Then we did the Millennium on the Friday. Was it the Friday or the Saturday? Because I know Sunday, it must have been Saturday. Then Sunday was recovery.
Yeah.
And then we flew to Adelaide to Darwin.
Yeah.
To get to Darwin. And then we did that night there as well because it was a long weekend. That was
Yeah.
great. That was probably one of the.
This was there to talk about it, so the baby just must have been looking after us somehow.
I don't know how we did it. Ecstasy, another great party, and Magnitude. The thing I loved about those parties is the promoters were really spot on with the kind of crowd they wanted, the venue they wanted, the music that they wanted. And out of that came clubs like there was Seven. Was it called Seven?
Yeah, Seven. Yeah,
and there was another one we played at. I can't remember the name. They were both new around about the same time. Club 7 and
there was Magnitude started off in a club called Salt, which was
Salt. That's the one.
Yeah, that was off Chapel Street as well. Seven was a great. So like playing at Seven. That was a great.
I loved that venue.
South Melbourne.
Really good location because it was really close to Commercial Street. Commercial
Road and St Kilda Road. Yeah, it was a good location. Saratoga is what it was known. I think it used to be known as well. But I used to love the parties at Seven. Sorry. But yeah, XCC was great. XCC was kind of like a spin-off. I think after I think my timeline's confused here. I think
Me too.
And sort of had its day, and then I think XTC took off for a while. But yeah, working with Marty from XTC was wonderful. He was great. Magnitude, once again, look, I was with Gillian when she first conspired that idea.
Amazing.
I just want to do this party called, I want to call it Magnitude, and I want to have the Space Brothers. I want to do this, and this, and like 2 years later, we're back at after Magnitude. We're back at kick-ons at a friend's place. The Space Brothers were there, and I just said to Julie, I said, "Remember this?" I said, "This is what you said you wanted 2 years ago."
Space Brothers, Matt Berry, Marcella Woods, and we did one at Room 680, didn't we? There was one at Room.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So once again, actually, let's get, gosh, we're relying on each other's memory here because But yeah, Room was another great club. That was in Hawthorne.
Yes. And let's talk about your interstate gigs. Obviously, again, speaking to Jules and Lexi, it was always hard to get interstate gigs, but if you knew the right people and you worked with the right people. Where did you play in Sydney? And
So in
Hobart?
Sydney, yeah, I played a DCM one night, and the DCM one was a little bit of a cop out actually, because Martine and I were in Sydney to do promo for the VM's CD.
Yep.
And so DCM kind of had us on to play for an hour to do the launch or
The
whatever.
promo, yeah.
What happened was that they had deliberately not booked any other DJ after me.
Right.
So I ended up paying for like 6 hours, but it was
Awesome.
it was a Tuesday night and it wasn't busy. So because I wasn't, it was all part of the contract. I just remember thinking, okay, I'm effectively doing this for free. But look, I did get in the good books with one of the managers there, and he did get me back to play another club on the strip, which I can't remember what it was. I know it was upstairs. And then I did a harbour cruise as well. So
Right, yeah.
I did like a DCM harbour cruise, which I did.
We did have this discussion about, Sydney was very closed shop, and a lot of Melbourne and Adelaide, or even interstate DJs, weren't really accepted in that ring.
Yeah.
And I'm yet to interview some of the boys about the Sydney scene. They're very serious about their culture and very serious about their clubs and very serious about, their music style as well. Trance wasn't big in Sydney, and I was playing it on the straight scene, and you and I were playing it on you were playing gay straight, and I was playing on the straight scene. The gays in Adelaide weren't getting it all. And it was such an explosion to get in there and finally get your foot in the door. Did you have a gig in Hobart as well? Because there was a club down there called Halo that I played at for quite some time, but that was late 2000s. Did they was it a straight gay
No,
gig?
no, it was a gay club, and I remember just a friend of mine on Facebook was from Tassie, so you should come down. And so I just messaged the promoter and said, "Look, I'm going to come down, so don't worry about airfares and that. But if you'd like me to come and play, I'm happy to." I can't remember what the name of the club was. No, it wasn't Halo. It was. I know it was a name that was.
Because I know the club that I played at was in the mall, the very small mall that they had, and it was upstairs.
Yeah, no. This was kind of out of city limits sort of thing. Still in the city, but sort of it was almost like a function room on top of a pub or something. It was definitely not this sort of lavish club or anything.
Did they get into the music? Were they off?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. I was surprised. They did actually. And the DJ that played after me too was very similar to me. So I was kind of thought, oh well, they know, they're obviously onto a good thing in relation to the style.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, that was it was a cute little weekend. Just went away, just sort of dipped my toe in the Hobart scene. Oh, I did ARC as well. Luke did get ARC one night on the Mardi Gras weekend. But yeah, look, trying to get anything regular, because I think trying to get anything regular in Sydney was quite hard, because Melbourne was very supportive of Sydney DJs or interstate DJs. And it got to the point too, it was quite annoying, sort of in the late, sort of early 2000s, early noughties. So a lot of the parties here were only Sydney DJs, or all the Melbourne DJs would have back rooms, do the side rooms and things like that. That really used to irk me. Yeah. But and I often thought, well, why can't Sydney kind of be as hospitable as what we are?
I got a lot of gigs just on DJs not being able to play. Like Lexi gave me a gig at not DCM, the other one down a bit further, and it was a recovery. She said, "I just can't do it. Can you do the recovery for me?" And I got my foot in the door. And Kate Monroe was another. She had to go away on a holiday, and Gigi and Andrea wouldn't let her go unless they found another fill-in that could actually cater for Kate's crowd. And once you got that leg up, it was easy.
Totally.
And, you know, like we talked about music, I had a story, and then we're going to get into the dock parties next. We've got Winterdaze, we've got Red Raw, we've got New Year's. Amazing,
Oh,
amazing times in Melbourne. Like,
yeah,
seriously.
goosebumps.
Yeah, I know. Like, I remember
Yeah,
seeing Oakenfold. I remember Chicane releasing Don't Give Up at one of the shed parties. Like,
yeah,
there was so many great parties. And the turn of the millennium was another really one, the Sin Millennium.
yeah,
Abby Gee, who used to be my manager here in
yeah.
Adelaide, she obviously moved to Melbourne. She asked me to come and do the gig with you, KDJ. What a lineup! What a great party that was, because it was near the end of the Shed 14, wasn't it? It was probably one of the
Yeah, look, I mean,
others.
the Shed 14 had, I mean, there were several parties that were promoted as the last one at Shed 14. As it worked out, the last one was actually, I did the last one and I can't remember. I think they promoted Red Raw 2000 as the last one and ended up getting it for another year. But yeah, I think look, the Shed 14 party, what an institution.
Yeah.
That was just, they were, I mean, they're up there with Run as far as, those pinch me moments of just, just memories that I don't have a lot of memories left.
Yeah. I mean, it really gave Mardi Gras a run for its money. When you
Oh,
stood from
totally.
the outside looking in, it was very
Yeah,
them and us. They like
yeah,
it was like a big competition.
yeah,
But Sydney was great with its big hoo-ha. But
yeah,
Melbourne and its underground music and its togetherness and the
yeah,
styles of music really, really worked. And a lot of there was Sydney deflectors that would come over to Melbourne,
yeah, yeah.
and enjoy those parties for what they were.
There was something like, there was just something incredibly scuzzy about Shed 19, Shed 14,
Shed
sorry.
14, yeah.
It was in the boondocks. There was nothing around there at the time. It would always be freezing cold. It would always rain. And even in summer, it would always end up being oh, you're right.
Yeah, it's just my dog. My wife's home. Carry
Tourism.
on, Shed 14. Yeah,
Um,
it was a place like the gay clubs used to be back in the day. No one was around. It was a
yeah,
safe place to be.
yeah.
So they always held parties in the most bizarre places, and Shed 14 was one of those. You wouldn't even
Oh,
think if you go there today.
it's well, they're going to pull it down because it's
Yeah.
sinking. So
Oh, no.
they turned into a big wedding reception centre with a club at the back of it, but they had to close the whole thing down because it's
Oh,
So they tried to get a heritage listed, but it was just going to cost too much.
yeah.
So it's going to rip it out. So, but
Mm.
yeah, look, Shed 14 amazing. There was a particular party there where it rained so much that all the rust from the roof literally just spat everywhere
Rained on you.
in those days. So by the end of the night, it looked like you've been standing at, you've gone to the Deluxe Youth Muster or something, and which is covered in mud. The walk back to the car at the end of those nights were, they weren't pretty.
Yeah, and Winterdaze is another great party. Lots of CDs, lots of profile, lots of great DJs came out of Winterdaze as well.
Winterdaze, once again, brilliant. Like I said, I always found Red Raw and Winterdaze always seem to have the same temperature. Like I can
Yes.
remember being at Red Raw in January and thinking, "Wow, it's really hot." I was always just as freezing as what it was for Winterdaze. Wonderful parties, like Tracy Moore used to put them
Yes.
on originally, and then Abby G took over.
Mm.
Just people that really had their finger on the pulse on how to run those parties, and
Yep.
yeah, wonderful.
What is your and I said this to Lexi because she couldn't remember a lot of them either. What were your go-to tracks? What were your most probably top? I don't know if you can remember
Yeah, no,
five.
I
Because I
can
mean,
remember.
because like I said, a lot of them weren't commercial,
Yeah,
right? So, sometimes I go through my records and I go, oh, I've forgotten about this, or,
yeah, yeah. No, my go-to tracks. Look. I think
I've got one here. It's funnily enough, I remember you playing this Venga Boys remix.
oh
And it's
the
just been sitting here because I played it a few weeks ago on a stream.
up and down,
I'm,
but
yeah.
it's the remix by who's the remix by? I can't remember, but yeah, it's a lot of them. I had the clear vinyl, but no, my go-tos were Saltwater, Chicane.
Oh,
Just that song is just a religious experience as far as I'm concerned. Rough Drivers, Michelle hated them on them. Rough Drivers featuring
Dreaming.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Dreaming.
featuring a roller or whatever.
I mean, the music was so epic
Mm,
back then, wasn't it? The
yeah,
trance sound, like if
yeah.
you just it actually suited the drug culture at the time.
Oh, totally. Can I tell you, I played Rough Drivers Dreaming at the Shed, at Shed 14. I had, with that breakdown being so long and
Mm.
so percussion and that kind of thing, I'm up in the DJ box just rocking around. And I've gone to go like this when it kicks in, but the crowd was screaming that loud that I've gone to do that and realised it hadn't even kicked in yet because they were screaming so loud. And in my head, the beat was out. But that was just surreal.
Was that the night of the Sin Millennium? Because I think you and I were back to back. I was
You
on last. I was on around the 6 a.m. because I know that, or even 5 a.m. because
no, I was on
oh,
I was on last. You must have been on before me.
you must have been on after me in the day then.
I'd have
Because
there were two sections.
there were two sections,
Yeah,
yes.
sorry, yeah, I was in the last in the main bit. You were in the side bit. Yeah. But no, look, I think I played that at every party. Look,
Yeah.
Michelle can tell you that I played
Oh,
that.
killer track, killer track.
Um, and
Absolutely.
side Space Brothers as well. That was another one. Oh, and Open Your Eyes, Coco. Look, they became signature tunes for me because I think it was especially Space Brothers and also Open Your Eyes. They still had a bit of the campy, gay sort of vocal things that they love, but the trance element that the Straits loved. So yeah, I think that you managed to appease an even bigger crowd with those two tracks.
Yeah, because it was music was so serious in Melbourne for a long time. But I think, like you said, when you come from a gay background,
Yeah,
even as a dancer, if you were a punter, you grew up on the gay scene through Kylie, Madonna, all that
yeah,
sort of stuff. And, before that, it was the 80s. So you had all things like Bronski Beat and New Order and all that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, I know there's a version of Open Your Eyes. It's got, the riff in there from Blue Monday, Bronski Beat. Tell
yeah,
me why, when they didn't know and hadn't heard the track yet,
yeah,
and you're mid set and it's banging out, and then all of a sudden the riff would come in,
yeah,
and people would just go
yeah,
absolutely nuts. And that
yeah.
feeling has never come back to me. So I'm getting goosebumps now. But do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
haven't felt that for such a long
yeah,
time. And
yeah.
and like Lexi said, it's bottled up and it's not coming back. And I think
Mm,
we lived in such an amazing time in order to be privileged to have that
yeah,
opportunity,
yeah.
don't you think?
It, I mean, it's an interesting way of how Lexi said it. It's bottled up. It's stored in the memory cabinet, and it's not coming back. I think it's almost like when you listen to your grandparents say, "Back when I was a lad," and I really respect that expression now because it's like things were different when I was a lad because they were different.
Yeah, yeah,
That the passion that we had as DJs. I mean, like everybody wants to be a DJ these days. Everybody can be a DJ these
yeah,
days. It was such a niche area. And the competition wasn't fierce. People weren't fighting for gigs. There was a good rotation of people that could be relied upon to fill in certain places. But I really feel sorry for today's generation, where
yeah.
you've just got so many people who do it for free just so they can get their foot in the door. So
There,
yeah, look, we were lucky.
there was a music culture too. Like I remember coming up to Melbourne, even as a punter and, record buyer or just doing gigs. If you spent all night at a club, you spent all day at recovery, then you might have a sleep, then you might go records shopping, like,
Yeah,
and then you'd go up and down, is it Commercial Road there?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then you had is it Chapel Street?
yeah. Commercial
And then
Road, Upper
what was
Street, yeah.
this? Was it Greville Street?
Google, yeah.
Greville.
Rhythm and Soul Records, yeah.
And it was kind of like Oxford Street was to Melbourne.
Yeah,
Melbourne, you could just guarantee you'd go to a cafe and see all the boys that either just come out of a club and they're having lunch and they're totally trashed, or they're just refreshed up and they're going to the
yeah,
day club. Like I
yeah.
think I really miss that about Melbourne and the scene.
Yeah, look, it was like I said, it was so niche, and I mean, I could go and do exactly the same thing in Sydney and have a completely different time. But Melbourne was always incredibly unique. especially having everything in that small area. I mean, as was Oxford Street, I guess, but I just found Oxford Street was very much all the same. Whereas Melbourne, you can have your gay grunge club like Uranus, and then across the road you got all your Queens and BMs.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Candy sitting at the.
Candy was sitting at the doors.
Sorry.
Candy was always at a gigs, wasn't she?
Oh, look, and I remember she actually stopped traffic to do a drag number one day, so on Commercial Road. So that was a Sunday because they used to do the Long Island iced teas for about $8.
Oh yeah,
and so that's what sort of kept the punters there.
Yeah.
But yeah, God rest her soul.
God rest her
Candy,
soul.
but yeah, she used to be perched on the stool at BM's and. I can't think of the other one. It'll come to me at 3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, it will. It will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about other people that are not with us again. I really miss Jet Lounge. I had Michelle come to do New Year's with us, and she goes, "Remember when I said I wanted my birthday and I had to beg them to bring you over to do a Jet Lounge?" Jet Lounge was another one of these things, sort of, I think, right sort of near the end. Me coming over quite regularly.
Yeah.
That was quite late in the piece, wasn't it?
Because Jet Lounge started with Sam Drummond was used to be the manager at the club there. It used to be like in a little laneway club in the city.
Yeah.
You go down the stairs.
It was quite. It was quite. There was quite small. There was one also upstairs.
It was basically a restaurant.
Yeah.
You go downstairs. A kitchen at the back that would become the pizza window kind of thing. Yeah. The decks would be behind there. I think it used to be Kate that did it did the first set, then I'd come on and do close.
Yeah.
Then they moved it to the upstairs part of the market, but it wasn't quite a successful then. So they ended up finishing up, and then the boys reinvented it again across the road to that upstairs club.
Yes.
Alley, was it Alley?
Yeah.
I can't remember, but that was a good club up there, and I remember coming to the rescue to play a song that night. Yeah, but that was its third reincarnation. Is that the word I'm looking for? Well, yeah, it's resurrection. That's the reincarnation. It's third resurrection. But Jet Lounge, look, Brian and Clive. Brian was absolutely so amazing with his creativity with theme nights and things like that. Another special little night. Just I know when we did it in the city, it could only fit like 100, 150 people.
I like that.
Nice and intimate. And I used to love those gigs. You just because when you've got a small amount of people that are really there just to groove out. I think you tend to bond a bit more with a crowd like that.
Yeah.
Jet Lounge.
Yeah, I like that. So let's talk about a question that I asked both the girls as well. And Lexi actually threw it back in my face, is what do you think was the demise? I mean, apart from obviously we all started to age, there was a time there where music started to become, too much. Like we were creating and buying music and we were creating scenes based on the music that was being produced. Then things started to get a bit sparse, What's your spin? What's your side on, how things, changed for all of us,
Yeah,
and at what point did you decide? What point did you decide enough's enough? Like,
I can tell you. Look, I'd gotten to the point where I was starting to wind down anyway. Look, I had a full-time job that really was just to keep my finger in the pie. But it was around 2005. There are a couple of things that happened. I remember I was doing a locker room gig. It was called that Dean White, his own Bang, was doing, and he had Jojo who used to do the frisky parties. He had him playing, and I think I was on like maybe from 4 o'clock, and Jojo had the place rocking, absolutely going crazy, and then I came on, and within half an hour, the place was empty, and I did nothing different. It was all it was my standard crank that I would take for a party night kind of thing, and I don't know what I did. It was I just thought, I don't have it anymore. I'm not, whether or not, I will put it this way, I don't think I did anything different, but clearly I wasn't on the same wavelength that Jojo had them on, but it was that quick literally the party was over by 5 a.m. Thanks to
It's
me.
probably one of the worst DJ moments you'll ever
Oh,
have. And I still have nightmares over it, just having
yeah,
the wrong box of records at a
yeah.
gig.
But the thing was, look, and probably it's a little bit dogmatic, but I don't think I had the wrong, the wrong box. I just don't think I was on the wavelength
No,
that,
yeah. But
that
it's you can't understand why it happens. And I think
yeah,
there was a scene outside of the scene that was creating.
yeah,
And as we were aging, there was these new up and comings, and
yeah,
there were people that just had different followings. And I found
mm,
I got quite to a point where I think it was when electro came in,
mm,
right? And electro, that real clangy
yeah,
electro, ugly. It had snippets of vocals, but it was real
yeah,
tin canny.
yeah,
And I don't know about you, but I kind of decided that was enough for me. There was
mm,
not a lot of good music being produced. And another good point Lexi made was that the drug culture was not the same. Like
no, that's right.
MDMA sort of dissipated.
Yeah,
There were different drugs coming through, like GG, meth,
yeah,
speed.
yeah,
So it changed the BPM of the music. So
yeah.
a lot of the guys got right into that real Tony DeVitt.
Yeah, yeah, which is a time and a place. And look, the thing is, I mean, it's I think the way I look at it too is that we were lucky enough in the '90s where the type of music and the type of clubs were all still considered underground. So when we started getting into the sort of the early to mid noughties, it was becoming way too commercial, and nothing was kind of sacred anymore. Everything was
Remixed, remixed, remixed,
yeah,
remixed, remixed,
yeah,
and there was no new sound, was there?
no, no,
And we had to filter over.
fantastic.
I had to leave the Mars bar to go into the mainstream in '94
Yeah,
in
yeah.
order to get a taste of what was going on really in music. And
You
you
look,
guys were lucky because you had that gay mixed crossover. You could go
yeah.
places and go, whoa.
Can I tell you though, some of the, look, I mean, I'll tell you, some of the straight promoters were way better than some of the gay promoters. I'll tell you that. I remember another nail in the coffin of my career too was I was doing a side room of a dance party thing, and it was a regular thing. And then what happened was, they advertised the next party was coming up in about 3 months, and all of a sudden my name wasn't on the flyer. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's fine, but what about a call? It was like, just say, look, we're not going to use you anymore. That's all I wanted to hear. But the fact that I found out that I wasn't playing anymore based on seeing the advertisement in the paper, I thought, I'm over it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I had like 13 years of just absolutely loving it. I didn't leave the industry bitter. I just thought, you know what, look, this is a sign, and I'm happy to go with
Yeah.
it.
You just know when it's time to step off,
Yeah,
don't you? Yeah.
yeah.
And since then, obviously you've done a couple of cameo appearances for parties and stuff. How did that feel? Because I
Oh,
know the
can I,
first time I got back in, I was so petrified that I couldn't mix, the old
look,
record. But
can I tell you? Look, I'm still on use vinyl. So
yeah,
this is, so with those parties, because what is I had been a page called I Love Clubbing in the '90s, and there was a big demand for sort of the promoter to do a kind of one-off party again, and it really got a lot of traction. Like, like it was going to be this little sort of bar gig or whatever, and it got to the point we had to move it to literally a huge club. So we got like 1,000 people. I said I'm doing the first set, so I haven't done it for years, and I forget what to do. So I rolled with my records, but there's no styluses for the turntables. So apparently the manager goes, "Oh, the DJs bring those now." So
Arc did the same. Yeah, I'd
so
rock up
I
at Arc in Sydney, and they'd go have to bring you to. I said, "Well, I'm not getting on a flight to Adelaide."
Yeah, yeah. I didn't have any. I literally, one of the punters had to go home and get theirs. So my 2 hour set, I got to play for 20 minutes by
Oh
the time they got
no,
the
yeah.
styluses there. So from then on, every time I've done it, I've always said I'm going to do the first set. I've never got the confidence, nor the patience to still be able to do the main set at 3 a.m.
Mm.
And look, it was fun, but yeah, look, I have officially retired.
Do you still own your records?
I sold most of them. So the reason being, I had them through Discogs, and I'd go through my records and go, oh, this would be worth a mint, and look it up on Discogs, and it's, somewhere in West, Germany's got it for 58 58 Oh, no,
Euro.
it's not,
Euro.
yeah, no. Well, let me use UK as an example. It's like 58 pence.
Pounds.
You know, no, like everything that I thought was of value suddenly wasn't of value anymore. There's very few records that are really that have the price value of what I thought they would. You know, so
I know they do now. Lexi said she's sold a couple for over $100. So
oh, really? Okay, yeah. See,
yeah,
I sold mine probably 6 years ago. They were just a nuisance. And I hate to say that. I mean, like they weren't my babies, and I sold them really cheaply too. I'm really annoyed at how cheaply I sold
yeah,
them for. But I kept two crates and a record bag of all my favorites. But
nice.
I mean, like moving, they were just
They're a
they were
nightmare.
pain in the butt.
Absolute
So
nightmare.
they've gone to a
Absolute.
happy home, and that's
Yeah.
all. That's all that matters.
So overall, I'd like to thank you so much for talking to me
My
today.
pleasure. Oh,
And
it's so wonderful.
honestly, I
Pleasure.
I'm so honoured to have been in the industry with you and
Oh,
worked with you. We've had so much fun over our time, and I hope that
goosebumps again.
yeah, and I hope that this series gets a lot of traction for people to listen to our little stories about how it was back in the day. And have you got anything for closure?
No, look, I'm just, I mean, having you in my life has been wonderful. I remember meeting you for the first time at Adelaide Sleazebone. Well, you still used to go by Guru Josh, I think, wasn't it?
I
And
had
just
to drop
coming up
that. Yeah.
and coming up and telling you how much you rocked,
Yeah.
and it was weird. I think even our friends would interconnect in years to
Yeah.
come, even with DJing aside.
So
So,
how did you meet Michelle?
um,
Because I know I can't remember. It's been, I think, I don't know how many years since she's in Melbourne, but she did leave quite early in the piece in the early 90s, I think. To
yeah,
come
well, no, we met Jeremy that weekend when
Okay.
I first met you. So
Right.
Jeremy then moved to Melbourne, and I think we saw him and connected with him, and then the connection with Mitch from there. So that's now going back 30 years.
30 years, and you guys have been friends ever since. And there's
Yeah,
the cute stories where she used to tell you what to play sometimes. She'd
and
get the
tell me
DJ box.
what not to play, especially Rawhide was gaming. Every time I play it, go like she was going to snap it. Oh, God, I love it.
Everybody needs a DJ bitch.
Yeah, oh, she was. Look, the amount of time she just stand next to me and like especially push up the people that the drunk request people,
Yeah.
and just say, no, he hasn't got it or whatever. No, she was a
Great
blessing in disguise.
security.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for talking to me today,
My
darling.
pleasure,
And
darling. Love you a long time.
love you long time.